Welcome, everybody who's joining us today. We are presenting on Medicare fraud prevention, and I am so grateful to Rob, who is presenting. Rob works here at AGE and out and about in the community all around Central Texas. So thank you so much for being with us. I know that it's really important, the information that you're going to share with us today. Just to let everybody know, there is a function where you can ask questions. And so if you have questions, you want to put that into the question box, that would be great. It should be on the bottom of your screen labeled Q&A. And then at the end of the webinar or after the presentation, we'll take some time and answer anybody's questions as they come up. We'll try to do that in order, but after the presentation. For those of you who are new to AGE, you're not familiar with us, we are an organization, a nonprofit that works really collaboratively in Central Texas to support older adults and caregivers. Our goal is to ensure that older adults and caregivers can thrive while navigating the challenges and opportunities of aging. We do that through a number of programs. First and foremost, I always like to highlight our health equipment lending program. Typically, that's the way that people connect with us first. We give durable medical equipment out into the community at no charge. There's no eligibility requirements at all. We also have a robust incontinence program, so we can share incontinence products out to folks who need that as well. And we do that through donations. So we take donations in from the community. We have volunteers that make sure everything's in good repair, clean, ready to go, and then we share it back out. We also offer a couple of programs that are really important in the community. One is our Memory Connections program. It's a program that's a virtual program online, and it serves those folks who have mild cognitive impairment or early stage diagnoses of dementia-causing diseases. Gives a lot of great activities, including some evidence-based programs called the Trailhead Brain Health Series and Cognitive Stimulation Therapy. And so that program's geared to provide really a strong sense of community, to eliminate isolation, to give support for participants and caregivers, and to give activities that help keep your brain at its peak performance rather than letting it have disease progression move fast. So we try to slow disease progression through that program. We also have our Thrive Social and Wellness programs. Those two centers, and soon to be a new center in South Austin, support older adults by providing safe, engaging, and activities and care throughout the day. Monday to Friday, you can participate 1 day a week, up to 5 days a week. We have a licensed nurse on staff at each location because we're a licensed adult day center. It's a great program. I am part of the information and resource program. I connect people to resources, information to help them find the support and care that they need as they are caring for older adults or as they're navigating aging for themselves. And then we have our Caregiver U program, which gives education out into the community for free through community partners. And we have a number of great educators out there in the community who provide classes like Powerful Tools for Caregivers and Savvy Caregiver, and also a falls prevention class called A Matter of Balance. So we're excited about all of those programs, but we are here today to learn about Medicare fraud prevention. So why don't we get started with that? Rob, thank you for joining us. As I mentioned, you're AGE staffer. You've been involved with this for a long time, and you're really passionate about it. So thank you for joining us.
And thank you so very much for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. Glad that you're joining us today. As you know, we're in the middle of open enrollment currently for Medicare. That runs from the 15th of October until December 7th. And that is your time when, if you want to make changes to your Medicare plan, that's your free window to do that. But of course, that also means that there are a lot of scammers out there who are going to take advantage of you during that time period. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint here to share with you. So this has been prepared by the Senior Medicare Patrol. I'm going to tell you a little bit about those folks just a little bit. The one here in Texas is based out of the Better Business Bureau in Houston. And so they have trained us here at Age of Central Texas in all of this great information so that we can share it with the community. So let's see if we can get an advance. So why are we even here today? Why are we talking about this? The simple fact is that Medicare loses billions of dollars each year to fraud and errors and abuse. In fact, $60 billion every year is taken away from us, those of us who are using Medicare. That's a lot of money. That's our money. That's our tax money that we have already put into the pot. Now, as we know, the size of the pot for Medicare really hasn't gotten any bigger over the years, but the number of people who are dipping into it certainly has. And the length of time that people are using Medicare has definitely gotten bigger. So that pot is actually getting smaller and smaller. And when someone steals $60 billion out of our pot every year, that's a lot less that's there for us. That means that we have higher premiums every year. It means that we don't have access to benefits that we used to have. Our quality of treatment goes down because medical professionals don't want to be a part of Medicare when they know that they're only going to get reimbursed pennies on the dollar for their service because someone has stolen most of the money out of the pot and there's not much left over to go around for everyone who needs it. And also, Medicare fraud can affect you personally. It can affect identity theft for you. You can lose money if somebody steals your Medicare information. And it impacts your health because you can't access the health care that you need because it's just not available anymore. But that is why the Senior Medicare Patrol was created. It's actually a federally funded program that exists in every state. As I mentioned, the one here in Texas is based out of Houston, out of the Better Business Bureau. And so they exist to help folks who are having problems with their Medicare, that they can help you fix the problems that you're having, they can report it, and they can help correct it. And we're going to talk in a little bit about how they can help you do that. Their mission is to help us, the beneficiaries, the families, and the caregivers, to be able to protect our Medicare. And they do that through programs like we're presenting today so that you can be better armed and have the knowledge that you need so that if something does go sideways with your Medicare, you know how to correct it. So I will say right up front, I am not a Medicare expert. We had that lovely presentation back in October, and you can go to our YouTube channel and watch that presentation talking about all the ins and outs of Medicare. But I think most people know the basics. So original Medicare is what you get when you sign up, when you turn 62. And you've got Part A and Part B. You've got the hospital insurance, which is Part A, and the medical insurance, the going to the doctor part, that is Part B. But obviously, Medicare doesn't pay for everything that you need in your health care. So that's why you get the supplemental. And those are your C's and your D's that cover things like prescriptions and other services that are not covered by basic Medicare. But here's the deal. Medicare is very confusing. And we know it changes every year. And so that's what scam artists are counting on and what they take advantage of. So they're going to target folks who have Medicare. Why? Number one, it's confusing. And number two, Medicare is very understaffed. So it is super easy for them to be able to steal from Medicare. They are also very savvy smart, and they're going to use a lot of technology to their advantage. They're going to use robocallers. When you're sitting at home and the phone rings and you get the recording that says, "Hi, press 1 for a representative." They're going to use phone banks. They actually have big offices full of people who are making calls, trying to scam people. They're going to use spoofing. That's when you get a call on your phone and it has your area code and it looks like the number is coming from somewhere where you live. But in reality, they've been able to change what comes up on your display on your cell phone, and they're calling from somewhere else. They're going to use malware as well. They're going to send you an email or that says, "Oh, you need to do this or that. Click here." And when you click on the link, it's going to download a virus on your phone or on your computer. And the next time you go and check your bank account, they now have access to it. And they're going to use social media. They're going to use all of the tools that are available to them to try to trick you into giving them your personal information. Did you know, speaking of personal information, most of your personal information is out there on the web, and it's easy for them to get it. They can find where you live. They can find your voter registration. They can find your car info. They find your address and phone number. We hear a lot recently of the grandchild scam, that you get an email that says your grandchild Ben has been in an accident and he needs money, or this is your grandson, I've been arrested, I need some money, can you send me money here? How did they know that you had a grandson named Ben? Because they went on Facebook and saw the pictures that you posted about your grandson, Ben, and just took that information. They were able to get your email address because you either put it on your Facebook or it's pretty easy to find it just with your name. Scammers are smart. They're going to use all kinds of tricks that are going to fool you into thinking this is someone that you know, this is someone you've done business with, this is someone you should trust because they've got all your information. Well, why else would they have it? Obviously, I must know them. No, you don't know them. They're just very, very smart. And scammers read the headlines. We mentioned that right now is open enrollment. And so they're being smart. They're looking at the stories that are on the news about Medicare, and they're using those to either scare you into doing something or trick you into doing something. So they're following along with all the news as well, and they're going to use that to their advantage. Your Medicare number is worth at least $30,000 to anybody who can get hold of it. And here's the thing. Just like your Social Security number, you only get one Medicare number your whole life. It's not like a credit card. If you lose the credit card, you can just freeze the card and have it canceled, and they'll send you a brand new card with a brand new number. Medicare doesn't work that way. You have one number, and that's the only number you're going to have for the rest of your life. And if that gets compromised, it is going to be an uphill battle to try to get that fixed. So this is what your Medicare card looks like. Remember that this card is just as valuable as your Social Security card or as a credit card. So there are two things I want you to learn today. If you don't remember anything else that I talk about this whole day, these are two things I want you to remember, and I'm going to mention them over and over. Number one, do not carry your Medicare card with you. Don't put it in your purse. Don't put it in your wallet. Why? Because it's too easy for you to lose it. And if you lose it and someone finds it and uses it, it's going to be a real mess for you. So don't carry it. Put it somewhere safe, somewhere at home where you know where it is and you can access it when you need it, but don't carry it around with you because it's just too easy for you to lose it. The second thing, number two, Medicare is never, ever going to call you. They're never going to email you. They're never going to come visit you. Why? Because they don't have the manpower to do it. They don't have the people available to do it. Plus, they want a paper trail of everything. So they are only going to contact you through snail mail. So if someone calls you and says, this is the Medicare office, nope, it's not. If they say you get an email that says, this is Medicare, nope, it's not. Now, the exception to that is your actual insurance carrier. So here in Central Texas, many of us have United Healthcare as our Medicare carrier. Now, United Healthcare, they're probably going to call you and they're going to send you emails about your account, but that's different. Medicare themselves, the government Medicare is never, ever going to call you. They're never going to email you, and they're never going to come visit you because they just don't have the manpower to do it. And that's where a lot of people get tricked because they don't realize that. So some of the ways that these fraud folks can take advantage of you, if they get hold of your Medicare number, they can file false claims against your number. They can send you equipment that you never needed and charge it to your account. And they can just make your life really hard. And we're going to talk about some of the ways that happens and what you can do to protect yourself. And just like when you lose your Social Security number, you know, you've heard horror stories about someone having their Social Security number stolen, and they've had bank accounts opened in their name, and they've had loans taken out in their name, and all of that. Well, guess what? They can do that with your Medicare number as well, because once they have that number, it's pretty easy for them to find all the others. So let's talk about a few of the scams that we see here in Texas that are fairly common, just so you will be aware of them and you'll be able to protect yourself. Now, remember, your Medicare number is worth $30,000 to anyone who gets hold of it, and that's per year. So let's keep that protected. Spoofing, I mentioned that. That's when you get a phone call on your phone and it looks like it's coming from somewhere here. So you think, oh, it must be somebody I know because it's a 512-255 number. So that's here in Round Rock. That's somebody I know. No, they've been able to, with a little touch of a technology, trick the phone into using a fake number that comes up on your telephone, and you answer it thinking that it's somebody you know, and they take advantage of that. From the minute you answer, they're going to think, they know that you think it's somebody they know, and they're going to pretend like they are somebody that you know. Another thing that is not on these slides, but we are seeing this a lot right now, and especially because of open enrollment. When these folks call you, they are going to be recording the call. Whether they tell you they are or not, they are recording the call. Do not use the word yes when you are talking to them. Why? Because since they are recording the call, they can snip out that one little word, yes, in your voice and use that as your agreement for anything. They might say, is this Mrs. Jones? You just say, it is. Ms. Jones, do you have Medicare? I do. Ms. Jones, just say yes or no. I do. Don't say yes. Don't give them that piece of ammunition, because if you do, they can then take that little snippet of recording. They can, after you hang up, that while the recording's still going, they'll say, Mrs. Jones, would you like to change your Medicare to this brand new program? And then they will tack on the yes onto it, and that's all they need. That's all the proof that Medicare needs, because they got a recording of you saying yes. So it's a very sneaky, illegal, underhanded thing that they are doing. And we're seeing a lot of people they go to the doctor's office and the doctor says, oh, you changed your insurance. And you go, no, I didn't. Oh, yeah, here it is right here. You now have ABC insurance out of Philadelphia and we don't take it. And you're like, what? How did that happen? It's because you said yes and they recorded it. Again, Medicare is never, ever going to call you. And so if you get a phone call that says, this is Medicare, hang up. Just hang up. Don't talk to them. Just hang up. They're not ever, ever going to call you. They're not going to come to your home. They're not going to send you emails. They just don't have the time or the ability to do it. We also have seen the Medicare card scam, and this happened a lot during COVID. People would get phone calls saying, oh, do you have the paper or the plastic card? Well, I've got the paper card. Oh, you don't have the new plastic card? Oh, you're going to have the plastic card. Your doctor's not going to take the paper card anymore. Can you give me your Medicare number just so I can verify whether or not we have sent you your new plastic card? Okay. The plastic card doesn't exist. But people believe that it did. They gave their number to whoever called because, oh, I've got to have that plastic card now. Yeah, nope. It doesn't matter if it's plastic, paper, or tattooed on your arm. It's one number. That's the only number you're going to get for the rest of your life. And it doesn't matter what kind of card you got it on. So don't fall for that one. We have a suspicion this one's going to come cycling back around here before long because it was a very profitable scam for the people who used it. So be aware if you hear about paper or plastic cards. It doesn't matter. We also saw this a lot during COVID, the genetic testing scam. Oh, for free, you can do this genetic testing. We can find out if you're prone to having a heart attack, if you might be prone to developing Alzheimer's. Let's do genetic testing, see if you got COVID, all of this stuff. Yeah, if it's free, that's a red flag right there. Yeah, Medicare doesn't pay for genetic testing. We actually saw folks set up out front of HEB in Central Texas areas doing this scam out in the sunshine of people going into the pharmacy to get their medications. So beware of that one. They're going to send you a little packet. You'll swab the inside of your cheek. You'll put it in, you'll drop it in the mail. It'll show up at their place and they throw them in the dumpster because they're not processing them. It's all a scam. All they wanted was your number. And now that they have it, they can charge for all these things against your account that you never asked for, never agreed to. And it's going to come back to hurt you later on. Here's an example of how that happens. That comes back to hurt you later on. You will get a free rollator or a walker that suddenly just shows up on your front porch. And it has a note in it about, oh, Medicare has sent you this durable medical equipment. Well, if your doctor did not order it, then it's going to count against you. If it's something that your doctor ordered for you, fine, that's perfect. But if it just shows up out of the blue and you have no idea why it's there, send it back. Why? Oh, it's something free. I can just keep it. It's a free gift. Well, here's the problem. Medicare only pays for a certain amount of durable medical equipment over a certain amount of time. Basically, it's one piece every 7 years. So you get this free rollator or walker or whatever it is that was sent to you, and you keep it. And Medicare gets charged for it. And then 2 years down the road, you have a fall and you need another piece of equipment. Medicare is going to say, sorry, you already got it 2 years ago. You can't have another one. Too bad. And then you're stuck. So if you get these things for free, and we all know people who've gotten them. I was talking with someone yesterday who said that during COVID, every week they got a box full of COVID tests that they never ordered that was being charged to Medicare, and they just sent them back. Send them back, because otherwise they're going to be counted against your account, and that's going to hurt you when you really need these things. Most of this stuff comes via Amazon, so you can call Amazon's 1-800 number and just say, come back and get it. I didn't order it. It's not mine. Come back and get it and return it. And in a moment, we're going to show you the 1-800 number for the Medicare Patrol. Once again, remember, this is a federal organization. It's federally funded. It's all paid for. It's absolutely free for you to use. Call them, let them handle it, because you already paid for it with your tax money. So let them deal with it. Sometimes you get test kits sent to you. We talked about that. Get all kinds of medical stuff. If it's not ordered for you, don't keep it. Send it back. And you see this 1-800 number there, and we're going to make sure that it's sent out to everybody as well. This 1-800 number, or you can just look up the Texas Senior Medicare Patrol. Call them, let them wrestle with it. You don't have time or the energy to deal with these things. Let them deal with it, because that's why they're there. Home health care fraud, we saw quite a bit during COVID as well, when some of these home health care companies were charging for things that were not done. They would charge for hours that were not actually given to a person. They would charge for services that didn't actually happen. There was a podiatrist in Cedar Park who during COVID went to all of the long-term care communities in the area and offered to paint the nails of all of the ladies who were living there. Sounds nice and lovely, volunteer thing to do. She turned around and charged Medicare for podiatry services for each one of those people. She got their card number and charged Medicare for them. She stole $3.5 million before she was caught. Why? Because it is so easy to do. There's not enough Medicare employees checking all of these claims that come in every day to be able to tell which ones are real and which ones are not. So that's why you need to be very proactive with your own Medicare. We're going to talk about that in just a second, but I want to touch on it now. Everyone should be getting their quarterly statements in the mail from Medicare that tells you what happened on your account during that quarter. Look those over. Don't just stick them in a box somewhere. Look at them carefully and make sure that they are correct. If it says that you went to the doctor on Monday the 3rd and you had a flu shot and an MRI and an EKG, but you only had a flu shot and you didn't have an MRI and EKG, that's wrong. Something's wrong. That you need to report that. You need to call the doctor's office and say, hey, I got charged for something that did not happen. And 9 times out of 10, it's just going to be human error. They're going to say, oh, you're right. Let me fix that. But if they don't, then you need to call the Senior Medicare Patrol and get them turned loose on it, because those are things that are being charged against your account that you no longer have available to you now, and you may need them. Ambulance fraud, we saw this down in the Houston area quite a bit over the past couple of years. They would be charging for trips that were not taken or miles. They would double the mileage of the trip and charge that to Medicare. They would charge for different services that were done in the ambulance that were never done. And so again, you check your quarterly statement and make sure that everything is correct when you get it. And if it's not, then you need to report it. Hospice fraud, we have not seen in this area, but we've seen it a lot down in the valley. So Medicare does pay for hospice. And if you didn't know that, hospice is a wonderful, wonderful resource. It's not just for end of life. We have a great video about hospice in our Age of Central Texas YouTube channel. So you can look for that and learn all about hospice care. But because Medicare pays for it, it's, again, very easy for some of these hospice companies to take advantage of that. And they will charge for things that you did not receive. Again, make sure that you're checking your quarterly statement so that you're making sure that everything that's in it is correct. And then we see a lot of open enrollment scams. As we mentioned, we're in the middle of open enrollment right now. It goes until December 7th. And so you're going to see a lot of scams taking place. One thing to be aware of for all you folks who are here in Texas who are watching this, Texas is not part of the national Medicare program. Texas has its own Medicare. What that means is a lot of these commercials you see on TV do not apply in Texas. You see Joe Namath talking about you can get all these free gift cards and rides to the doctor and they'll send food to your house. Yeah, not in Texas, because those plans are not accepted in this state. Now, if you call that number that's on TV, they're going to sell you that plan. That is their job. They're going to get you to switch onto that plan, even if that plan is absolutely worthless in this state, because they want their commission and they're going to make sure that they get it. And you won't know that until you go to the doctor the next time the doctor says, we don't take this. And then you're stuck because you're now outside of the October 15 to December 7th open enrollment time, and you're stuck with a plan for a year that you can't use. So be very careful on that. We always, always, always recommend you need to talk to a local insurance Medicare professional. Medicare is insurance, so you need to talk to a person who is licensed to sell you Medicare in the area where you are. The interesting thing about Texas Medicare, it's also zip code dependent. So what I can get here, we're sitting in Austin next to the University of Texas, is going to be different than what someone can get 6 blocks over in a different zip code. So you need to talk to a professional who knows what's going to be available to you where you live. And that is very, very important. Nursing home care fraud is very much like the other ones with healthcare that we're talking about, where they may charge for things that were not done within the community, charging for more expensive services than were actually provided, charging for services that were not actually done. And again, if you are the caregiver of a person who is living in one of these nursing communities, make sure you are looking at your loved one's quarterly statement to make sure that it is correct. So that's just a few of the ways that scammers can take advantage of us. And they are smart and they know what they're doing because they know that they can make a lot of money doing it, because Medicare just doesn't have the resources to double check everything. So that's why we have to be proactive. We have to protect our own Medicare because it's ours and we paid for it. So let's make sure that we keep it safe. So what do we need to do? Number one, we've said this again, do not carry your Medicare card with you. Treat it like a credit card, treat it like your Social Security number. Keep it somewhere safe where it's not going to be lost and it's not going to be stolen. Number two, Medicare's never going to call you. They're never going to email you. They're never going to visit you. And they're never going to try to sell you anything because they don't have the ability to sell you anything. Only a licensed insurance person licensed with Medicare can sell you Medicare. Be careful of anything that's free. We know the old adage, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So offering free medical this or that, if you just give me your card number, no, it's a scam. Watch out for identity theft. If somebody happens to get hold of any of your credit card numbers or any other items, it's just one more step for them to get hold of your Medicare as well. And don't give your Medicare number to anybody except your doctor or the Medicare provider. People have asked me, well, should I take it with me when I go to the doctor's office or go to the hospital? Shouldn't I have my card with me? No. No, they're not going to turn you away for service because you don't have your card number with you. You can give that to them after the fact. You just tell them, I have Medicare and I will give you my number after we get out of here and have the treatment done. They don't have to have it right then. So there's no reason for you to carry it with you. And once again, we'll say it again, don't carry that card with you. It's too easy for you to lose it. So when you get your quarterly summaries, double check them. Make sure that you're not getting charged for services that you didn't receive, that there's not a double billing on there, services that were not ordered for you, those types of things. 9 times out of 10, as I said, it's going to be human error. Those numbers that they have to type in, the codes they have to enter for Medicare are multiple numbers long, and it's very easy to type the wrong one in. They're intending to type in flu shot, and they type in hip replacement because they were off by one number. So 9 times out of 10, you just call up the provider, you call the doctor's office, you call the hospital and say, hey, I got charged for something that didn't happen. They'll look at it and go, oh, you're right. We put in the wrong number. We'll fix that. But there are some people who are working in the healthcare field who know that they can charge things that didn't happen. And when that check comes in, they'll just put that money in their pocket. So be sure that you are being proactive, that you're checking your Medicare summary notices to make sure that everything is accurate. We always recommend using a personal health care journal. This could be something as simple as just a little spiral notebook that you have, that after you go to see your doctor, just make a quick note that says that I got a flu shot and the doctor ordered an MRI that I need to have taken care of, whatever it is. So that when you get this summary notice, you can go back and compare it to your own notes. Because, we might forget between now and 3 months from now, 4 months from now, when we get that notice. But if we've got the note to go back and look at, then we can compare the notes and say, oh, I got billed for something that didn't happen. And you can look back to correct it. And that's when you report. Call the provider first and say, hey, this is not correct. Give them the chance to fix it. Because 9 times out of 10, it was just something, human error. If it doesn't get fixed, gather your info. You've got your notes that you made after the visit. You've got your summary notice, and then call the Texas Senior Medicare Patrol. Once again, let them handle it because that's what they're there for. And that's what they're getting paid to do. And you've already paid them to do it through your taxes. So let them handle it. And trust me, they can get it done a lot faster probably than you can, because since they are a federal organization, they can get into the federal Medicaid database and fix it very quickly. And once again, it's absolutely free because you've already paid for it, and it's a 100% confidential. So that's what I've got for you guys. I'm going to go back one and give you one more chance to see this 1-800, this toll-free number. It's an 888 number, 888-341-6187. Write that one down and keep it somewhere that you can remember it, so that if anything ever does go sideways with your Medicare, you know who to contact, because these are the folks they're going to be able to fix it for you. So thank you so much for this opportunity to present this information. Bonnie, do we have any questions from anybody?
You know what? We don't have any questions, and I have to laugh because, Rob, I was taking notes and I was writing down questions, and I would be in the middle of writing down a question and you would answer it. I started to write down, do you recommend that we monitor our accounts on a regular basis? And you launched right into that. So I bet everybody else is in the same situation. I have multiple questions started and went, oh, I'm just going to listen to you answer that. That was excellent. So thorough. Thank you so much. I had no idea. I guess the one question I have, which is a little bit frightening to me, is it sounds like a lot of fraud is actually happening in the local office. You know, you mentioned the podiatrist, or when you had the slide about transportation, medical transportation, it sounds like that fraud is happening at that local office, which is a little bit sad to me.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as we mentioned, it's very easy to be able to steal from Medicare, because Medicare just doesn't have the resources to check every single claim that comes in. So it's easy to slip in a little one here and a little one there, and pretty soon they start adding up to thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going into the pockets of the providers. And often it's not the actual provider themselves, it's someone working there in the office who's actually entering it, who realizes, oh, well, I'm the one who also opens the mail when it comes, so I'll just put this check over here in my purse. And that's what happens, unfortunately. But also, it's during open enrollment, we're seeing national level fraud that's happening, of people who are getting the emails, you'll be looking at your Facebook, and there'll be something that pops up in your Facebook feed about, hey, did you know that you could get free blah, blah, blah if you're on Medicare? Here, just click here and we'll tell you all about it. Well, it seems innocent enough, and pretty soon you're down a rabbit hole and you have signed up for something that doesn't exist, and you've given them your Medicare number because they need it to be able to switch you, and they won't do anything. They're going to switch on to something that doesn't exist, and you're never going to know it till you go to the doctor's office. And by then, they have stolen so much off of your account that it's going to take a long time to correct it. Yeah. And, as human beings, we tend to be very trusting in many ways. And so it's easy for fraud scammers to take advantage of that and to gain our trust. We talked about some of the ways that they can get your personal information, and they will use that in conversation with you in ways that make you think that they actually know you, or that you should trust them because they have this information already.
Yeah.
And they already know something about you. So yeah. And unfortunately, it's just the tricks of the trade that they use to be able to steal from us.
You mentioned several times about just hang up the phone. They're not going to call you. They're not going to call you. And I realized too, and I know you mentioned this, but I think that stressing that they're not going to email you either. Medicare is never going to email you. And so if you see anything that says and you're thinking it's Medicare, don't open it. And I really love on my email the report for phishing. And that's how it comes up on mine. But I report all those things that look suspicious. I'm just going to report it.
Yeah. They're never going to call you. They're never going to email you. They're never going to text you. They're never going to come to your house. They will only communicate with you through snail mail.
Yeah.
Because there needs to be a paper trail so they can go back. If there is an issue, they need to have the paper trail to go back and look at. And you need to have the paper trail so that you have something to go back and look at. So that's why they're only going to send you a physical piece of paper with everything on it, because they want both sides to have that paper trail. And literally, they do not have the staff to be able to call people, email them, answer calls or emails, any of that. It's always going to be through snail mail.
Well, I appreciate those. I appreciate this presentation a lot, and I'm sure that many of our participants have learned a lot, as I've learned so much about it as well. Well, thank you so much, everyone. I see there's no more questions, so we will go ahead and end this webinar. Gosh, it was really, really fabulous. Thanks so much, Rob. And just to let everybody know, we do have a YouTube channel, and you can find a link to that on our website at ageofcentraltx.org. Again, that's AGE of centraltx.org, and you can just look for the little YouTube symbol on the page. So many great resources there, webinars from the past, presentations, all sorts of things. So great place to check out and learn more about things that are really important to older adults and caregivers. So again, thank you all so much for spending some time with us today, and we hope you have a really great day. Don't say yes.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.